Let's start by talking about the concept of physical and mental, and this idea that maybe that we have this kind of dualistic idea of like our mental health maybe being separate from our physical health. Our mental health exists somewhere in the brain where the physical health happens down here in the body. My experience is really that those two things are not as separate as we tend to talk about them. And so that is to say that the mental effects of hot spring bathing, I mean, we can talk about it from an aesthetic point of view. Most of these hot springs exist in green spaces, and nature elements are involved. We know through research that if you spend time in nature, it's going to lower your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. It's going to help your body better regulate the immune function. I mean, there's all these kind of like known benefits of just being in nature. What's interesting about that is, are those physical things that I just mentioned that we can measure, they're not necessarily direct causes. Not like you took a nature pill and you got those things, right? It's like you were experiencing a novel state of being connected to a natural space, and that mental space you were in had a physical effect on the body. So there's this really beautiful like top-down way that the mind affects the body, and conversely, the body has upregulation into kind of our mental experience. When you immerse yourself in a hot body of thermal mineral water, there are certain things that are happening right away to the body. Let's actually talk about the skin for a second, because this is, I think, fascinating. So much happens because our skin has a nervous system embedded in it. That's obviously like why you can feel so much on the skin. And that nervous system gives a lot of feedback information to our central processing center, which is the brain, about the environment that we're in. And then the brain in turn kind of sends feedback responses to the skin to change circulation patterns, expand blood vessels, etc., based on the environment it's in, to keep our system in kind of a homeostasis regulation point. So that's happening all the time, constantly. This feedback, kind of your body's making these micro adjustments all the time. So when you put yourself into a body of water, the skin simultaneously is saying, woof, we're like, the temperature has gone way up in here. And that just, again, the body just instantaneously sets into motion this series of biochemical effects to start to regulate against that heat. That thermal effect of the water alone has just a ton of benefit to the body. It helps with circulatory, regulation, helps with increases, sweating, and which gives a relief to the urinary kidney system. But also that puts a little bit of what we would call a hormone, which means a healthy stress on the body, which, it's enough stress to stimulate the body to act more efficiently, act more, to like upregulate the systems that kind of make us stronger, but it's not a significant enough stress to cause injury. So it's that sweet spot, and that's what we call hormesis. And thermal therapies, like soaking in hot spring water or sitting in a sauna, that induces that healthy stress in the body. Part of what happens with that healthy stress is neurochemicals get released in response to that, and those neurochemicals create a sense of calm, a sense of peace. Your central nervous system starts regulating the polarity of it a lot better, which gives you a more balanced experience of your stress response. I mean, we typically walk around in these kind of adapted stress states. And so when you push your body into that healthy stress space, and the body can kind of like, whoa, okay, like this is what, like it, kind of shocks it out of that holding pattern. It also allows the body then to dip back into a more restful and regulatory space as well. You have this very physical effect that then regulates and kind of creates this mental emotional effect on the body as well, and helps with those things. So the mental effects and the physical effects, they're not two different things. And I truly believe, just through my practice of medicine and just my experience as a human being, that the mind is not separate from the body, that our experience of consciousness is happening holographically throughout our body. It doesn't just occur in the brain. The brain is definitely involved in central processing of our consciousness experience, but I think it exists in the entirety of the body. One of the most beautiful things you see with hydrotherapy, I mean, this is kind of one of the reasons why I love it so much, is when you start activating and stimulating the physical body. Sometimes, when we have emotional injuries, we kind of hold them in different somatic areas in the body, and there can be resistance that just we kind of walk around with these stresses. When you start to physically exercise and release that tension in the body, mental things can release as well. And it's so common to see people who have these kind of emotional insights or releases or integrations through the physical stimulation of their body through hydrotherapy. And I think that's why thousands of years of tradition have used water for ceremonial spiritual healing as well as physical healing. I think there's just, and you think of water as an archetype, it's like this beautiful, it flows, but it has structure. It is kind of this like in between kind of total free form and total physicality. You've got water.